often he wouldn't finish them. He got involved with some pretty bad people. The worst was Cesare Borgia, who was an absolute monster.
The son of a pope, he was the most hated and feared man of his day. Cesare Borgia murdered his own brother, had incest with his sister, and he'd regularly poison or garrote his dinner guests.
We order and command this.
So why did Leonardo go and work for such a monster?
Borgia, I think, is an interesting character because I think he's very much like Leonardo. I think that he's a charismatic figure. He's very ambitious. He knows where he wants to go. And I think that Leonardo is fascinated by that.
My men fear me, Da Vinci, but they also love me. And yet, how many of them know me? No, really. What kind of man I am.
But what do you think?
He smiles, but I've come to realize with men like that it's bad when they're hostile and worse when they're friendly.
So why do we stay?
We stay because we have to eat. You especially have to eat.
Borgia made Leonardo his chief engineer. He gave him a unique level of power and his own personal protection. Leonardo carried out epic projects of civil engineering for him. The draining of huge tracts of land, the fortification of towns. He was even planning to reroute the river that goes through Florence.
It gives him a freedom to order people about, frankly, to say, move that river here, let's do this city this way, because he's got a single mind to work with. Now, we may say Cesare Borgia's was a twisted mind, but at least for Leonardo, he was a guy who could get things done.
But he was still Cesare Borgia. What happened next isn't clear. It seems that Leonardo may have become friends with one of Borgia's lieutenants, Vito Lozzo, who had fallen out with his unpredictable lord.
Vito Lozzo excuses himself. Apparently, if I were to agree to see him personally, he could justify himself absolutely and make me understand that past actions were not meant to offend me.
So Vito Lozzo was invited to dinner and told he would be made very welcome. Leonardo went back to Florence 2 months later. Whether his friend's death had persuaded him to leave Borgia's service, we just don't know. But it must have seemed a good moment to leave. Back in Florence, he claimed to be weary of the brush. But he did start to paint a housewife called Lisa del Gioconda. The painting, which he would take over 10 years to complete, would also in time become the most famous painting in the world, the Mona Lisa. One reason he took so long was because, as ever, Leonardo was pursuing a whole range of obsessions, including the great obsession of his life, flight.
Another bird. Storeholders will think you're mad.
Oh, no, no, no. He's been paid what he asked for the birds. A bird should be able to do what its nature dictates, which is to fly. So should a man, if he has a mind to take wing. Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the world with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will always long to return.
Leonardo envisaged a number of designs for flight, including an ornithopter, a machine powered by a man flapping great wings like a bird. But could he possibly achieve flight with any of his designs? There are pages packed with research and ideas. One of Leonardo's concepts is said to have inspired Sikorsky to lead the world in helicopter design. And it seems Leonardo did have a fantasy of one day trying out these machines for himself. But perhaps the most achievable at the time was this intriguing design, from what is apparently the world's first controlled glider. But would it have worked? Had Leonardo really designed a practical flying machine hundreds of years before anyone else? We've asked designer and inventor Simon Sanderson to build the glider for us.
I'm pretty certain we can get this to fly. The main question is how stably we can get it to fly.
And risking his neck will be Robbie Whittle, a former world paragliding champion.
I'd like it to fly, and I'd like to be able to at least live my dream, which is to fly a machine that was designed 500 years ago.
The strange thing with
But there's a basic flaw in Leonardo's design. He seems to have it back to front. Fly the way he suggests, and you'd break your neck.
So what they're really saying is that this is actually the front of the glider, which it definitely isn't.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't he write in a kind of code? So therefore, as another decoy, effectively, he switched the front around, because I can't imagine anybody thinking that that could possibly be the front.
We've got another decoy here just to make sure that we don't manage to pull some flight off.
Yes, certainly did get it wrong.
Yeah.
Simon presses ahead with building a 1/10th scale model of the glider, the right way round. But when he takes the glider out for its first test flight, the results are hardly encouraging.
It needs a little bit of modification, but we're getting some half-decent flights once in a while when there's no turbulence.
Simon and Robbie need to know if the glider really will fly. So they brought the model to the University of Liverpool to be tested in a wind tunnel by aerospace engineer Gareth Padfield. We're looking for evidence of lift as the oncoming air collides with the glider. It looks encouraging as a vortex spirals upwards from the wings, a phenomenon Leonardo was well aware of.
The bird will rise on high by means of a circular movement in the shape of a screw.
Can you see the smoke flow showing the strong vortex? Then you have a higher pressure underneath than you have over the top. A low pressure on top and a high pressure underneath. The airflow wants to go from the high pressure undersurface to the low pressure upper surface.